Hey everyone, Dan from ON1 here. I wanted to talk to you a little bit about textures today and how to effectively add them to your photo and some of the options you have when using textures inside of ON1 Photo or ON1 Effects. First, let's talk about how to go shopping for your textures. I've opened my photo up into Effects and I'm just going to click on the preset drawer on the left-hand side if it wasn't open already. Make sure you're on the Filters tab and then scroll down to Texturizer. You'll now see small versions of your photos with a bunch of the different textures applied. Now keep in mind, this isn't every texture inside of Effects. There's lots more and tons more you can download off the ON1 website that came from PhotoFrame. If you're an old PhotoFrame user, you can go to our website and download all the textures and install them automatically. Now sometimes these little thumbs are a little small to work with. I like to use the Quick View browser to get a larger version. You of course can make these thumbnails larger at the bottom too. So it gives you a better idea of what the different options are. I'm just going to scroll down until I find one that I like. I kind of like that cool concrete at the beginning. Let's remember that one. We'll keep scrolling here, look at some of our options. Oh, those light leaks are kind of cool. We might use one of those too. Let's keep looking. We're kind of looking for our base texture that we want to start with. Now here we go. Here's kind of a cool rust texture. Let's start with that one. There we go. Now you can see how it's added that texture onto my photo, but it's obviously too strong and it's applied on top of my subject matter. I really want it to be a bit more subtle and only apply to the edges. Now I could use the brush tool to paint this off, but that's going to be a long process. Instead, I'm going to use the masking bug. So I'll simply grab my masking bug. I'm going to make sure that the shape is set to vignette, and then I'll just click in my photo, and that'll start it out. I can then use the handles to shape and turn and really define just the area that I want to remove the texture from. There we go. That looks pretty good. Now you can adjust and control your texture here in the Texturizer pane. You can always change which category and which texture you want to use, but there's also options for the blending mode that's applied. So I can make it lighter or darker, or pick a subtle or a normal option. I'm going to use the normal option in this case. And the opacity slider lets me control how strong the texture is. I usually use it around 70%, but I'm going to use it pretty high in this case. More like 75 or 80. With the hue, saturation, and brightness sliders, I can actually adjust the color of the texture as well. This texture on its own had a little bit of a warm look to it. If I move the hue slider around, you can see how I can influence the color of that texture. And of course, with the saturation slider, you can crank up the color or bring the color down. A lot of times if I'm masking a portion of the texture off of the photo, I like to bring the saturation down. So I really just get the texture, the luminosity, and not the color of it. I'm going to go down a little bit so I keep a little bit of the color in there, but it doesn't look as obnoxious. And of course, with the brightness slider, you can also darken or lighten the texture, and you can see that only affects the areas where the texture is applied. So I can actually use that almost like a vignette if I want to, and darken it a little. At the bottom, there's controls for rotating and flipping the texture around. So if I want to change what area is applied, I can easily flip it. If I want a little bit more texture on the left, I can do that. Or I can flip it up and down to really get just the texture that I want where I want it. There's even a scale slider that I can use to increase or decrease the scale of the size of the texture, which can be really helpful for getting it sized just the way I want. There we go. That's looking pretty good. Now the other thing that a lot of people don't realize is that you can add multiple textures at once. I'm going to hit the Add Filter button, and I'm going to stack another texture on top of this. So we'll go back. We'll click on the Texturizer again. Now we'll go back over here to the preset drawer on the left. I'm going to use that Quick View browser again. Let's go add one of those cool lens flares that we saw. I'm just going to scroll down until I find those. There we go. And I want kind of a subtle looking one. Yeah, let's go for this one right here. There, that looks pretty cool. Let's take a look at the before and the after. There's before, and there's after. Just by stacking a couple of textures here in Effects, I was able to take this and create a great vintage kind of a boho look. And again, you can always save this as a preset so you can use it over and over again. All right, thanks for watching.